Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain and
I'm sorry,
Peace
I'm recording
Walker.
a podcast. Could you let these assholes out and bring them in? I had to get someone to get the dogs out.
Sure.
Did that actually come through?
Yes, it did.
Motherfucker!
That's okay. Don't worry about
I'm going to put that at the beginning. It's fine.
No, you know what? The thing is, I have to go to the settings and switch this over to the goddamn... What? Why didn't you just go to the fucking Yeti? And watch, my voice quality is going to go...
Bam, and we're good. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Real Bad Dudes. I am Scary Jersey Guy, and joined with us is...
Slaya. And yeah, we're going to do another kind of chit-chat thing, some various topics. Don't worry, we'll get back to movie reviews, but figured, hey, we'll shoot the breeze a bit.
Yeah, this is really more of a way for us to just sit down and try to get our feet wet, because we haven't done this in a while.
Oh, we have a Dallas.
We got a drop by.
No.
I could probably plug up my webcam.
Has anybody watched any new movies, TV shows, anything? It doesn't have to be new, I guess. Haven't seen that you recommend, maybe.
New, what I would recommend is, it's on Prime now. It used to be free. It's called Penance, and it's a 5-part series. It's like a Japanese horror story, like a Japanese revenge horror type story. It doesn't have like fucking onryos like crawling out of televisions and stuff like that. But it's a really, really well done story. And it's basically about 5 little girls who get a 6th friend who just moves in from out of town. She's like really shy and reserved. And then one day she's found strangled in the local gym. And the 5 girls come across it. When the police ask them questions, they're too scared and nervous to say anything. So the guy that did it pretty much walked away free. So the dead girl's mother takes them all aside and basically says, I curse you to feel the same misery that I feel. And the 5 parts dictate each of the 5 different girls' lives as they go forward and their eventual downfall. It's really, really well written.
Yeah.
That was good. It used to be free, but now you got to pay for it. But I totally say, even paying for it, it's worth it.
I mean, I saw the Suicide Squad.
That was high school for me.
Huh?
That was high school for me. Suicide Squad.
The new one.
There's a new one?
Yeah, the one that just came out.
You know what? I'm totally fucked up. And you know what? I'm blaming it on decaf. I have no caffeine in my system right now. I thought you said Suicide Club. No,
I'm talking about the superhero thing.
Yeah,
I liked it. I liked the new Suicide Squad a lot. The one by James Gunn, this, Slither and all that.
So now I'm curious, what is Suicide Club from high school?
Suicide Club was something that I watched in high school. It's a Japanese horror thing about kids that basically get programmed to commit suicide.
Oh, nice.
It's got like one of the most infamous things, like in underground horror, where like the movie starts off with one of those like L trains coming in, and you have 50 kids lined up on the platform, and Ichi, Ni, San, and then they all jump right into the middle of the train. Blood everywhere. So it was nuts. And you just had people like randomly walking off roofs, so you see like bodies go like
the last like really gory Japanese flick I saw was Machine Girl.
Oh, I think I've seen chunks. I haven't seen the whole thing, but
I watched the whole thing. It was on Netflix. It's like, it's so cartoonishly, like, it's hard to describe. It's just it's gore porn all the way. It's really funny.
It's like live action anime, but with a little bit of like that Power Ranger kind of budget to it.
Oh god.
Oh yeah, it's cheap in terms of the budget and everything, but I mean, like, everybody is deranged as shit in that universe. Like, everybody is just a crazy person, like just a psychopathic. I don't know what because it's like the whole thing starts over like something that would just be like a simple misunderstanding, but it's just like everyone in that world is a psychopath. Like, everyone, if you offend someone in that version of Japan, they want to absolutely like rip your bowels out or something. Like, it's kind of a funny movie. I don't know if I'd really want to watch it again, but I liked it at the time.
It's like a movie you have to watch with somebody, not by yourself. I don't know.
I know something that's kind of in the vein of that. It's called Tokyo Gore Police.
I've heard of it, and I think it's actually by the same.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
same
it's not.
director.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Robo Geisha is the same. I believe is the same guy.
Robo Geisha was absolutely fucking hilarious.
I want to see it. I wanted to see it. I thought it looked better in a lot of ways than Machine Girl, but I never did see it.
Robo Geisha, like the big thing that stands out to me, but it is very Power Rangery. But
Mm,
like, I'll
yeah,
never
yeah.
forget this guy. He was in a wheelchair and he's got like a cannon blaster in his knees. So like his nurse is wheeling him down, and like there's this room, like it's like a long hallway. It's been years since I've seen it, so I might be off. But like the guy's just like, "What are you gonna hold yeah?" and banging on his knee, and then a thing pops out and blasts one to bits, and then he's just doing that shit, slamming on his knee, and it would blast one, and then he's just like, dun, 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 like that, and little bullets would come out and just like knock them all down. It's totally absurd. Tokyo Gore Police. That's definitely a gore porn. It's definitely very Power Rangery. Same batshit crazy aesthetic going for
That's
it.
how it was a Machine Girl, because like the one of the guys who was like the dad of like some girl that she accidentally, I don't know, like she fights her and kills her. I don't know, like the dad at the end of it is in the temple and he's wearing like this really goofy looking armor and stuff, which up to that point he just seemed like he was like a normal kind of dad, but he just at the end like, it's been a while. I can't quite remember. It just looks so silly because they're all like lined up at this temple for this final showdown, and I guess like the main villain, gave him this armor to put on, and it's ridiculous. But yeah,
That's pretty much in line with like any Japanese RPG game, though, because we all know the general rule: the more ridiculous looking the outfit, the stronger it is. You know, so if you're playing online with somebody in a Japanese RPG, if you see someone coming along with like pink sandals and like has a miniature duck on top of their head, they're probably the strongest motherfucker in the game.
Naturally.
Did I know?
Dude, you're starting to fade away. Like Marty's failing his mission, dude. Like your arms are starting to fade.
Me and Dallas watched Psycho Gorman. Have you seen it yet or heard of it?
I was just thinking about it when we were talking about this, especially when you said Tokyo Gore Police.
You
I was
probably really enjoy it. It's very. It's sort of like if a villain from Power Rangers had his own movie with a bit of Guyver mixed in. It's very, very silly. It's from the guy who did The Void, which I haven't seen yet, but I heard is really good. Same director.
We keep talking about seeing The Void. I really want to see it.
Psycho Gorman sounds really familiar. I know I haven't seen it.
It's very heavy metal-esque. It's okay. This little girl finds this like gem in
very
because they lose. The brother loses like the silly game they play, so he's digging his own grave, and they find this gem that belongs to the I guess he's like the galaxy destroying character. His name actually isn't Psycho Gorman. That's the name she gives him. But the movie is very silly and enduring, and it's definitely worth watching once. It's batshit insane in the best way as possible.
Godzilla. Totally reminds me of Godzilla.
It's funny because like the movie has a decent amount of world building when it comes to he's like telling his backstory at a certain point, but the movie the kids will keep interrupting him because he's getting ready to tell his backstory, and it visualizes like they show you like a flashback of him being on this alien planet, and he's like on this badass like motorcycle thing at one point, and then they're like yeah whatever, and they just like cut him off right there. They do that a bunch of times.
Like the little girl's very, very annoying, but she's supposed to be.
She's like Mandy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. She's this really like evil little kid, but in a kind of an awesome way. I didn't personally find her all that annoying. I thought she was kind of funny.
I didn't either, because I thought that was the point.
She's so over the top that you kind of it's becomes endearing after a while, as messed up as it is.
There was a really good one that I had seen recently. It's called The Wailing. And I know that's on Prime. And it's not like whaling, like, oh, we're going to go hunt fucking whales. It's like, oh, whaling. It's a Korean horror flick. And I got to tell you right now, Korean horror is where it's fucking at.
Yeah.
They've got it down to its science. The Wailing, I saw that one, and I don't know. There was something that was just keeping me from watching it. And then when I watched it, I was just like, this is really, really good. It's pretty much like the story about how there's like this loser policeman and he's losing touch with his daughter, but there's a curse that basically befalls this Korean town. And basically it takes over everybody and turns them into deranged cannibals. So it's got some kind of zombie-ish qualities to it, but it's not ridiculous. It's really well written. Like, the cinematography is absolutely amazing. Pacing was perfect. It's probably one of the best, like, newer horror movies that I've seen in like a long time. So it's The Wailing. Definitely got to check that one out. That was
on
really
Amazon. It just free on Amazon, right? I mean, with the Prime.
I think it is on Prime, yeah, for free. Like, it's been on Prime for a long, long time for free.
Oh, okay.
That's definitely a worthwhile watch. I'm trying to think what else have I watched recently that's like new. There really hasn't been much. Like, I went on a big J-horror binge thing lately. Like, I watched all the Rings, I watched all the Grudges, or the Ju-On, sorry.
You've been watching Last Drive-In, so you've probably seen, like, was it Abduction? Or no, The Audition. That's what it was called. The Audition. Sorry, my bad. The Audition.
Oh, Audition. That's old school right there. I hate to say it like that.
Yeah, Last Train
they showed that
was also really good.
Mm-hmm. It's really
Audition
good.
Audition was awesome.
The ending though.
The same girl from Audition, though, I think is the girl from Tokyo Gore Police as well. So there's your connection. There was that, and then what the hell else have I really watched? Like, I've revisited a lot of oldies and classics. I watched the Jaws series, all 4 of them. Like, what type of masochistic shit was I thinking when I put on the 4th?
I was thinking, dude, the 3D one with
Louis Gossett Jr.
Dennis Quaid. But also Dennis Quaid. I was thinking Daniel Quaid, but yeah, like Dennis Quaid. Yeah, it hasn't aged well.
You know, the sad thing is that the 3rd one is better by proxy because of the 4th one.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
I know that the 4th one's the one with Michael Caine, right?
Yep.
Because I know with the 4th one, the fact that, like, people pointed out a plot hole with it, which is that the shark didn't the shark like follow them to Australia, like seeks them out, or something? The Bahamas, and they were like, people were like, how does this shark find them in the entire ocean? Like, how does it go all the way to the point where, no joke, this is real, the novelization of the movie, they actually wrote in that it was like a voodoo curse, and that's how the shark managed. I'm not joking. That's real.
I heard about that, yeah.
They did it just because so many people brought that up, like how completely ludicrous it was that this one shark had such a revenge boner for these people that it like traveled across the entire Pacific or something to get to him.
Yeah, it would follow one fucking old lady. It was ridiculous. The cool thing is, like, obviously the first one is like a perfect movie. You can't really ask for anything better than that.
It's really good.
The second one, I actually enjoyed it a lot, and I had even more fun reading about all the trouble that they had making that goddamn movie, because like Roy Scheider did not want to do that movie. He's like, this is unbelievable, and he's like, plus the whole surprise element's going to be taken away because they wanted to show more of the shark, because now I guess they finally found a working shark. But it was one of those things though where like Scheider refused to do it, and then he wound up having to do it. He struck a deal with Universal because he backed out of Deer Hunter. He had like a 3-picture deal thing with them. He backed out of Deer Hunter, and then he didn't want to do this one. So they offered him a deal that if he took the second movie, they would knock 2 off of his thing. And then the third one was Blue Thunder. So it was an interesting thing. He even got into like this huge fist fight with the director because they just didn't get along. But hey, Scheider took it seriously though.
Back to Jaws 4, isn't there a TV ending that's different? Like, the theatrical one, it gets poked and boom.
Yes.
But in the TV version, I think it actually gets speared. It actually gets speared and then like slowly falls in. I don't know why they didn't use that one.
It was pretty much the same thing where it got stabbed with the broken off bow of the boat. But in the movie, it basically got gored. You heard it roaring, and it did that typical monster roar that you've heard in so many movies.
Right.
And then it goes underwater. But in the TV one, when it gets gored, it explodes.
Yeah.
And then it lingers on a shot of like a pelvis like rotating for like 2 solid minutes because of the 3D.
I could have sworn.
Just like focus on it. That's what.
No,
that's the
you're
stuff
thinking
that like.
the third one.
I am thinking of the third one, but I'm tacking it on because I'm like, why don't we just take all the dumbest elements of the crappy Jaws movies and like just combine them all together?
Well, I mean, hell, even the way that the shot was set up, because I mean, like, I remember they like showed like constant flashbacks of Brody at the end of the first one, and he's got the gun aimed, and he's like, "Smile, you son of a bitch," like that. And I was like, why the fuck would that line up with, the third
What's
one?
the name?
Just, huh?
The old man, in the first one, you're gonna need a bigger boat. Like
that was right. That was Chief Brody, played by Ray Scheider.
Right? Did you? Useless trivia here, but you know that crappy Artemis Fowl movie that came out, Disney's Artemis Fowl?
Oh Lord!
It's based on but the kid that plays Artemis Fowl in it is that guy's grandson. Yeah.
I remember. Here's a useless trivia piece here as well, because you remember how Jaws 4 starts off with the youngest son Sean getting eaten by a shark. Like that's how it all starts off.
Assume I do.
You know what? It's a good thing that you don't remember it, because just expunge that shit from your memory. But that's how they started off, is because, like, when they asked Scheider, well, do you want to be in the third one? He's like, no, type of thing, because he absolutely refused to do it. And then, because, I mean, all 4 of the movies center around the Brody family, but then the 4th one starts off with the youngest son, who is a cop for Amity Island. And they even shot it out in Martha's Vineyard. So he goes out to try to get a log off of a fucking buoy line. Like, that really matters. Like, it doesn't matter, type of thing. So he goes out there trying to remove it, and that's when the shark comes out, eats his arm, and then he dies. That's it. But the whole thing is they asked Scheider if he wanted to be in the 4th one, and he fucking Bill Murray'd it. Basically, he laughed his ass off. He's like, no. But the plan was they were going to bring him back, as Martin Brody, and then he was going to get killed off. So because he didn't want to do it, they killed off the youngest son, which is kind of weird. It was very, very weird because, you see, once again, it's centered around the Brody family, both Sean and Michael. Throughout the first one, throughout the second one, throughout the third one even. And then it's like you kind of grew up with those characters, and now they kill it off. And the sad thing is that the movie was so shitty that someone dying like that is totally meaningless.
Didn't they, I think, isn't there a Michael Caine quote about the 4th one where he said, like, something about, I've heard it's not any good or whatever, because he's never seen it.
Yeah, he refused to watch
it. He said it was something really funny. It was very snappy, his wit, the way he phrased it. Yeah. Where he's like, I've been told it's not any good, but
yeah, I don't plan on seeing it. But then you had Dennis Quaid, no more useless trivia. He's on his own admission said that he was literally high off of his ass on cocaine for every single frame of film that he's on in that movie.
Sure, why not? Sure.
I don't know. You'd have to be on coke.
Sometimes you just get to make a movie. You got to get high. Come on.
To make that
works for
movie,
Kevin Smith,
you
right?
got to be.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I'm thinking about the ending there with that one when they blew that shark up, and then they tried to do the 3D effect of the teeth coming.
That's what I was saying. They linger on it. It looks so bad. It might have been impressive back in the day. Maybe it was. I don't remember. No, it wasn't. Because I remember, because earlier in the movie when the shark murders somebody, it's just like someone's shin. It's like
his arm.
The foot.
Yeah, the arm.
Was it the arm? I swear I thought it was like, maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
You're thinking of the leg in the first one.
Okay, right. But that one's like a quick scene where you just like see it fall to the ocean floor. This is like where it's like front and center on the camera, and it just lingers on it, and you're just watching it rotate, and you're like,
they did the same thing with the fucking this gigantic tuna. They started it off in the beginning of the movie because you got the dent, 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 And then there's like a school of like big fat ass tuna. And you know what? I'm sure like some fish expert is going to come in here and be like, actually, that's a terrapin or some shit like that.
Yeah, the Neil deGrasse Tyson of the marine life world. There.
Yeah, you're going to have
come in and be like, "That's not accurate."
You're going to have a Matt Hooper show up and tell me that I'm absolutely wrong because those fish don't survive in that water and they're not active around that year, and that you can tell that what time of year.
Garbage.
Oh my god, I fucking hate those arguments so much. It's like, you know what? I can be a stickler for things sometimes, but it's like I've gotten into so many people, I've gotten into so many arguments with people, like say Resident Evil 2's remake. I've had people bitch at me because I'm like, I fucking love it. I think it's one of the best.
They improved certain things about in terms of the storytelling and stuff. They did certain things that arguably made it better.
Oh yeah, but the thing that killed it for me though was, well, you realize that this game's set in 1998 and you get a USB drive. That's not realistic. Because
that's
USB
right. That's people pick that out. People,
and I'm sitting there like, motherfucker, they haven't invented the T virus yet.
They did. Windows 98 though did support. There were they didn't hold a lot of memory, but yeah, they were around in 1998.
Should have been a zip drive instead. Zip disk.
Zip disk.
Yeah.
That could have been funny. Like the ending to Zoolander. Remember? It's like, I have 2 words for you. Zip disk. Remember that?
It's just, you know, it's just it's weird to me when people focus on something that small and that minute. Like, let's just say that USB drives hadn't been invented, even though they kind of...
They absolutely had, because that was... the big draw of Windows 98 at the time was USB was the big new technological advancement with computers, and Windows 98 was the first Microsoft OS to have USB support, because Bill Gates was even showing it off. There was this big thing where he showed it off on the computer like blue screen. This was like a live event. And because David Letterman was making fun of it at the time, I remember that. He's showing off this computer, and then something happens. All of a sudden, it starts smoking. It looks like he's making waffles.
Oh. See, I remember when that happened though. Like he was like, "And welcome to Windows," and then he started it up, and then it blue screen.
They blue screened, and they projected at the time. I can't remember what the insane number it was, but they were like Microsoft, just from the stock falling and everything, like because investor confidence plummeted with that I can't remember what the projections were, how much money Microsoft was projected to lose just from that one little flub. But yeah, USB drives were around in 1998 though. It's just they were only like maybe 16 megabytes or something. They weren't big, but they were.
Well, it's saying that I look it up, see how to be that guy. It says the patent was April 1999, and then they came out like 2000. But even if the years are off,
1999.
Yeah,
and then but you could still kind of. Yeah, the technology technically existed. I mean, you could say that the umbrella.
Time travel movies always get things wrong, anyways. Like Back to the Future. There's things about that were in that movie that weren't in the 50s, but like. Who the fuck cares?
You could still make an argument though, because it was the USB drive was in the police station, right? The Raccoon City Police Department. But Raccoon City, just the entire city was founded by Umbrella, wasn't it? Yeah. So an Umbrella, they
were ahead of the curve.
Limitless resources, basically. You could say that there were like test, versions that they brought out or whatever, like just for internal use only, but that. I don't know. It's still because it was a custom drive. Yeah.
But you know what the funny thing is that nobody ever focused on that, but they didn't focus that you can put an ID chip in a wristband.
Yeah.
Nobody ever latched onto that one. Like I noticed that. I didn't give a shit because it's like we're talking about we want extreme realism in a fantastical universe where you've got a virus that mutates people into zombies, turns snakes, sharks, plants into giant man-eating creatures, but no. I mean, they didn't have USB drives. Fuck out of here.
There's that one. Did you play Resident Evil Revelations, the first one? It first came out on the 3DS, but then they ported it to PC and the big boy consoles.
That was the one when you're on the boat playing as Joe Valentine.
That's the one. Yeah, and you're looking for Chris.
I played it maybe once.
Okay.
I did play it. Like I remember the
'Cause-
captain was like the worst fucking thing you could ever come
Yeah.
across.
Oh well, he was at first, but as it went on, those actually became almost like just mini boss style enemies. Like you could fight multiple
Yeah.
versions of those, but they got easier as it went along. But
It always tends to.
yeah, no, that game though, you probably didn't get far enough to see a lot of the later cutscenes and everything. But there's like there's this backstory with the game that's just pure sci-fi, where they built this this floating city and like an artificial island, and it became like it was targeted by terrorists that were using the biological weapons and stuff. They had like hunters that were yeah. Well, I'm just saying, but this is par for the course. Like people should know by now that Resident Evil straight up just goes into sci-fi territory, like, and I mean extreme, like high sci-fi territory, and it's done as just like background objects like that because this city thing was just kind of to establish like a history of this terrorist organization that was using the what do they call the BA? No,
the BSAA.
Yeah, but what do they call what's the shorthand they use to describe the biological weapons? What do they call them?
BOWs.
BOWs, right? Yeah. Yeah, this was all just like window dressing. This whole thing about this floating city of the future, like built on an artificial island and everything. This was just stuff that was just establishing the terrorist organization. It had nothing to do with anything beyond that.
Yeah.
And they're just like hand waving, oh yeah, we totally did that. And this is current year.
Yeah, but it's just the shit that people hang on to. It's like, come on, Resident Evil, the original one came out in 97, 98.
It was,
like
I think,
the
it was
very
96.
first one.
I think it was.
It was 96. I fucking reviewed the.
I played it on the Sega Saturn back in '96. Like I didn't have a PlayStation. I was so excited because I was like in Electronics Boutique and I was like, holy shit, they got Resident Evil for the Saturn. I got it. It was like $40. I was like, I'm getting this right now. And I went to the payphone and I called my friend up and I'm like, dude, I gotta come over. I got Resident Evil.
My PlayStation for the very first time, and the thing that scared the shit out of me as a kid was the second floor music. That's what scared me.
I remember that music being freaky, and I did play that game out in kind of the rec room we had at my grandparents' place, which, I was like alone out there, and I loved it. I absolutely loved playing through that game in the dark, like by myself like that. But the reveal when you're in the conference room and you activate the slideshow and it shows you see Wesker as a member of the team. I'm so happy I was able to experience that
without it being ruined.
Yeah, before the internet caught on and all that crap, where I am just organically playing through the game, and that part came up. I was like, oh, he's one of them. He's in on it. Like
son of a bitch.
It's so cool. Yeah, the first game like that.
It's and I mean that's kind of the miracle, because like this is like back before we did have the internet. So it's like, imagine if we did have the internet and you had those hacky fucking YouTubers like reviewing Resident Evil.
Oh, yeah.
They trash it.
This game's the same day, like But I mean, you wouldn't be able to get away with any kind of surprises like that unless you just swear off the internet, because that's how I played another game that Capcom made, Dragon's Dogma, which you were talking about JRPGs, but Dragon's Dogma is closer to like a Dark Souls style game in a lot of ways. And I was so invested in that game, I was like, I'm not looking up anything. I'm not going on wiki sites. I'm going to go through the game at least once, just me and the game and nothing else, until I was relatively certain I'd seen enough of the content that I was like, then I could start maybe looking up some spoilers. But I was like, otherwise, because I like the old days of that, where, it was just you in the game. You didn't even have a strategy guide. It was just, you just had to figure it out.
The sad thing is like spoilers don't bother me so much. I mean, like unless something like majorly like revelation type of shit has come through, spoilers don't necessarily bother me. I'm just thinking back to the stupid shit that people would say. It's like, yeah, you heal yourself by eating plants,
eating herbs, yeah.
Yeah. And then of course it would be like well, I'm sure they just take them and roll them up and smoke them. That's why Chris has the lighter. You'd have one of those stupid jokes in there.
I always imagined back when Jim Carrey was on In Living Color, I could have just because he would play those kind of crazy characters, and I could see him, no joke, if they had done a Resident Evil skit, because I could just see, he'd, just eat the herb and be spitting it out, like just crank it up to 11 and stuff. Like I always imagined, I'm like, if only we could have gotten something like that, because he would have made that look hilarious, like time to heal and stuff. And, this
Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey.
Yeah, because it does, when you think about it, since you don't actually see any kind of like animation or anything. Like you see animation when you use like the med spray, but when it comes to the herbs, it's just like and you get the green mist all over your character or whatever.
Yeah.
But to actually imagine how they're that they're stopping for a minute and start like chewing on the leaves and shit. It is funny.
And then you're magically all better.
Yeah.
Like you get bit by a snake, go out and look for some blue plants and eat those,
Just rub it on your wounds. It's good.
Yeah,
oh no, that's poison ivy shit.
Oh. Man, I miss those days. Like that was one thing that I missed when they did Resident Evil 2, because like I was a little shit about Resident Evil 2, because like I was pissed.
I didn't get to play it for a while.
I was really pissed off about it because like I loved Resident Evil 1. And one of the big things that I missed about it, and it seems like really superfluous to be like, oh, why would you miss that? I missed the exam thing. Like when you could open up the item menu in the first one.
Yeah.
And you could just, look at like
rotate
the Beretta, and you
could
rotate it around.
But they did
the animation.
They still do that to an extent. Like
they kind of brought it back in the model viewer. You can do that sort of.
Well, but there is. I thought Resident Evil 7 had some like lock boxes or some things where you picked up an item and you had to like actually find. Yeah, you had to find how to open it or whatever, because at first it just looks like a useless thing, but obviously the game wouldn't let you pick it up if it was completely useless.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it. Didn't 7 do that? I thought
7 kind of had something like that, where it had like a puzzle mechanic where you had to like line up these weird looking statues, and it's like, oh,
yeah, the silhouette. It makes the silhouette.
Yeah, it's like a silhouette of like an eagle, like
spider
with
and
on top. Yeah,
that part was pretty all right. Yeah.
But what pissed me off about 2 and why I was such a little shit about it, because I played it and then I didn't really want to play it, because like memories of thinking back to like Resident Evil 1 was I remember. Like I was freaked out by the second floor, and then of course you had the things in like EGM that was saying, well, this was edited down because of the violence and all that.
Oh, really?
And then now they're coming out with Resident Evil Director's Cut, and now they're making Resident Evil 2.
Oh, it's so bad. But the Director's Cut, you remember the music in the Director's Cut?
Yeah, the farting trumpets in the basement.
Oh, it's so bad.
Someone came out recently on like one of those Resident Evil fan groups, and you know what? I'm fucking done dealing with fans. Because they were like, so what do you think of like Resident Evil of this? And I was like, well, there's like someone was arguing the difference between a remaster and a remake, even though it's like a really blatantly obvious distinction between the two. And I was like, like I got the director's cut and I didn't really care for it. I kind of feel that it was like, instead of it being like a remake, it was more of an unmake. And they were like, well, expand on that. And I was like, well, let's see. First off, they re-added the auto aim that they took out in the original Japanese game. They took it out because they feared that rentals would kill sales of the game because it would be too easy to beat if you had auto aim.
Is that now? That's a rumor, though, because I never heard. That's why I heard like Battletoads in the U.S. was the most ball-busting, fucking hard as shit like NES game, is because they said they didn't want people to be able to rent it and just beat it. But then I've heard that that's not. It's never been fully confirmed that that's exactly what the logic was. It's just that that's what people speculate. Maybe I'm wrong, though. I mean,
I can actually disprove that, because when I reviewed Echo the Dolphin, I tried to look into like the development stories of how they made the game.
Yeah,
the guy that made Echo the Dolphin was actually quoted as saying, I was afraid that people would beat it in a weekend, so we
made it impossible. They didn't. I mean, it's borderline impossible. I'm serious, unless you're using like the Game Genie or something.
Yeah,
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Echo the Dolphin was a fucking ball buster. Like, I'm
I
going back
had
and
it. Yeah.
remaking a lot of old reviews that I did. I'm not
Mm.
doing Echo the goddamn Dolphin again. I
No,
refuse.
no.
No review. I
That's
refuse.
there are games that I played when I was a kid and they kicked my ass during my childhood, and I still wanted to come back to them, like Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. That was a hard
Yeah.
game. But that game, I did come back to that. I was like, I'm gonna beat this game's ass this time. Like I'm not gonna let this game haunt me, haunt my
Yeah.
childhood. I
You need
like
closure.
yeah, and I did. I came back to it and I really enjoyed that game. I actually kind of love that game now. But Echo is not. No, I will not come back to that.
I'm not touching that one. But here's the thing about the Resident Evil thing. They did take it out of the Japanese version because the Japanese version
Okay.
originally had auto aim, and it was just a normal gameplay mechanic.
Right.
Now they feared about the rentals screwing
Because
over
rentals
the
were
sales in
illegal in
America.
Japan. Like that
They
just wasn't.
still are. Then that's
Yeah.
exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
Rentals are illegal in Japan. They don't do that shit.
Yeah.
So they took that out and they put it back in the director's cut. And then the big selling point behind the director's cut was they were going to put in all the uncensored footage, all the stuff that got taken out. And this is where shit gets really fucking wild, because someone fucked up over at Capcom and they printed the censored version in the American release. So when we got the director's cut in America, it was still censored. But they also printed it on the Japanese discs. So the Japanese audience got the censored ones. But do you know who got the uncensored ones?
Mm-mm.
Germany.
Huh.
And Germany is like really notorious for censorship with
they're
violence.
really bad about it. They would change the blood to green and make
So-
humans into cyborgs. And
Isn't there a deleted cinematic in the original Resident Evil where like a severed head fell from the zombie eating or something?
That's at the very beginning, right? That's the first zombie you find in the cut. Yeah, because in the original version, or at least the censored version, you hear him chowing down on the guy, and you see his back turned, and then he just like gets up and turns his head, and his mouth's all like covered in blood and everything, and that's it.
Yeah.
But you don't see the head fall.
Yeah, because in the original one, you just saw like the little pool of blood going along, and then the zombie does that.
Yeah.
But in the uncensored one, you actually see Kenneth's head drop and hit the floor.
You also see the live action part at the very beginning.
It's in color.
Those actors. There's the part where the dude like picks up the severed hand, I think, but you don't. It cuts it off, I think, before you see the stump. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I want to say
because the stump in the bone.
Yeah, because I remember I used to watch because I thought that cutscene was cool back in the day.
I thought it was amazing.
Because you didn't really get live action stuff like that back then, and so later I'm watching it. I can't remember where I saw some. I guess might have been watching a long play on YouTube or something. But I was like, I don't remember that being. I don't remember them actually showing that gore in that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing that they took out of that live action intro, there's two big ones that they were supposed to restore, but they fucked up on.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got Chris Redfield smoking a cigarette in the intro. That's why, like it was always very involved to me. That's like how I knew that something was kind of missing here, because like when they do the whole like live action intro, it's like Chris Redfield, and he's just like standing there. Yeah, I love that song. But they took that Redfield.
out. You know why they took that out though? Because it sounds like he shot a woman in it. Because you hear the shotgun go off and you hear a woman scream.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So they cut it out because it sounds like
it's actually a catchy tune though.
It is.
But it starts off with just like Chris Redfield standing there like this, just.
Yeah, that's right. He does.
Then it plays over live action footage of him in the intro, and it's in color. So it was like, what the fuck? But then you see Jill Valentine, and she pulls out the gun, she loads up the clip and cocks it, and I'm waiting for a gun nut to be like, it's actually a magazine.
Justin Wang, the YouTuber Justin Wang, a while back, did you see the one where they found the dude who played Barry, the guy who the live action Barry, the original,
Scandinavian guy or Norwegian?
Was he? I thought he was Australian or something. Maybe I have to look it up again. But
he looks like a goddamn.
He was like a teacher or something, because I think that I think the tip off. I'll have to watch the video again, but someone in a forum said something about it, where it's like that guy was like he taught in high school or something.
Something like that. I do remember that very vaguely. That was an awesome series that he did.
They managed to track him down.
That's how I came across Justin Wang, was him doing all the Resident Evil stuff. They found Barry, and like he looks like a big old bear from Scandinavia.
Yeah.
You know, and
because I think his because people had assumed for years, right, that the live action actors were the same as the voice actors, since but they weren't because
Jill, don't open that door.
Don't open that door,
dude. I love the voice acting in Resident Evil.
Almost a Jill sandwich.
That's something else that they took out because we got sidetracked. See, this is what we do here at Real Bad News. We get sidetracked like a motherfucker. They took out the Chris Redfield intro with him smoking a cigarette because that's bad comparatively to all the violence, in the game.
Oh yeah, sure.
But
he's not a good role model if he smokes. I mean,
the entire intro was in color, and then you see Joseph Frost getting ripped apart by the dogs.
And Solid Snake smokes. You might have heard of him before. He was in a little game called
Metal Gear.
It's actually a mechanic. It's actually something that comes into play in the game. Do you see the thing where the I guess the fan like met him and they did a little viral video where it's like if Solid Snake worked at Taco Bell?
Oh God.
Have you seen that video?
A long time ago in a galaxy far away.
And then Cam Clark, Liquid Snake, he did a follow-up of it of Liquid pulling into the drive-thru just to taunt Solid Snake while he's working at Taco Bell.
Brother, did you like my sunglasses? I can't do Cam Clark shit.
Yeah.
Cam Clark is like 1 in a million.
Oh,
I mean, I remember reading an interview that David Hayter did where he was like, it really hurts my throat talking like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's very raspy.
You can so see him pulling up to a Taco Bell or a Burger King. Give me a number 7 and ketchup.
He said you have to. You probably did see it. I don't know. It was going viral for a while. It was a bit ago. Like it's been a couple of years at least. But it was this just recorded on a cell phone. I think it was actually. It might have been in a Taco Bell, but it's just David Hayter standing next to this fan, and the fan is playing the part of the Colonel because he's like, they're ordering some Gorditas Supremes, Colonel. How do I proceed? It's that kind of, and the dude's playing the part of the Colonel. Like they actually had this little act going back and forth. It was really funny. But yeah, Cam Clark then added to that, and he actually got in his minivan. He was in a minivan, had someone else film him as if he's pulling up to the drive-thru to taunt Snake about his new job.
See, I love it when shit naturally flows like that, and everybody plays off on it, and everybody gets into it. David Hayter, he's a cool dude. I like him. Cam Clark, he's 1 in a million for voice actors.
Yeah. Oh yeah. God, he's been around forever too. Teenage
Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original one.
Just like who am I trying to say? Who's the guy that's played Slimer in the Ghostbusters, and he does a lot of he has this
Frank Welker.
Frank Welker, yeah. And he's always got because do you remember there was a Family Guy joke one time where they did Scooby-Doo if it was this hardcore police procedural, and Fred's it's a murder, and it's whoever did this is one sick son of a bitch. Yes. It was actually Frank Welker's voice doing it because he's got a really good attitude about that kind of stuff. He laughs at him, he can laugh at himself. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, they actually got him to do that.
Oh yeah. See, I love it when you can actually have a sense of humor about that. So it's as a person who's met people like that, it's you always worry because you grew up on them and you hope that they're not dicks, because then it'll just kind of ruin the perception of it. Mm-hmm. Because it's imagine if you met David Hayter and he was a jerk to you. Would you ever want to play Metal Gear again?
It could be kind of tough. That's true.
It's fuck you, I'm playing Phantom Pain.
But, I thought at the time when they replaced him, with Kiefer Sutherland, I really thought that it was all this big scripted song and dance that Kojima was doing, because we're so used to, because Kojima likes to mess with people, like that. Because David Hayter at the time, he posted I can't remember where, but he basically posted this open letter where he was talking about how upset he was over the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this there's no way this is Kojima's messing with us. There's going to be something else to it. And what I thought they were going to do, what I thought they were building up to at the time was, since Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain and
Sorry, I'm
Peace
recording
Walker.
a podcast. Could you let these assholes out and bring them in? I had to get someone to get the dogs out.
Sure.
Did that actually come through?
Yes, it did.
Motherfucker!
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Put that at the beginning. It's fine.
No, you know what? The thing is, I have to go to the settings and switch this over to the goddamn... What? Why didn't you just go to the fucking Yeti and watch? My voice quality is going to go...
My mic doesn't have a mute, so...
Yeah, here I am pushing the mute button, thinking, okay, nobody's going to hear me like burping or anything. Coughing.
How did you muted yourself earlier? I thought you did. You were talking to somebody for a second.
Physical mic doesn't have a mute button, which I wish it did.
Right.
This one actually does have a thing on
it. Whack the microphone because that's...
Mine doesn't have a... I got a blue snowball right here, and it doesn't have a mute right on it. I suppose I could just like... I suppose I could just like literally yank the USB cable out of the back of it.
That's gonna help.
I had a snowball, and then I went and bought one of these fucking.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah.
And oh my god,
does it have like 4 condensers in it or something like that?
It's got one of those things on the back of it where you can switch it so that like it'll only pick up sounds in front and behind, or something that like does an all-encompassing circle, or just like me in front of me. And I love that setting because I've always got to have a fan on me because it's 2,000 degrees.
That's great. Phoenix. Oh man,
it was worth 110. Like it absolutely.
That ain't bad. Worth. It's normally like 129. I think it is the normal MSRP for it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm running a fan. Hopefully, it's not coming across. I don't think it is though.
No, it's not.
I'm not hearing it at all.
What I was gonna say, real fast. What I thought that Kojima was doing at the time when David Hayter was expressing how upset he was that he was no longer voicing Snake, he got or Big Boss or whatever, he got replaced by Kiefer Sutherland. I thought what they were doing, because a friend of mine pitched this to me, and I was like, that's probably it, because they didn't want the voices to sound the same, and we thought that they were going full circle to where they were going to straight up like remake the original Metal Gear. Yeah. And so then you would have Big Boss as, you know, his superior, and you would have Solid Snake in there. And so that they both sound distinct. That's what we thought was going on, that they were working their way back to like remaking the first one. Then you would have David Hayter and Kiefer Sutherland in there.
That would have been amazing, though.
It would have been really cool.
But I mean, you know what? You can't help but think that just with the way that Hideo Kojima does this bullshit. I mean, everybody likes to shit on the Phantom Pain, and it's because they're trying to stick up for David Hayter. And I understand that because David's a cool guy.
Yeah.
I didn't see too much of a problem with 5.
Phantom Pain's not bad. It's really not bad. Yeah. Well, Konami screwed it over, though, because, you know, it was supposed to have 3 acts.
The ending.
Yeah, it was supposed to have 3 acts. And there was that deleted cutscene where he met a young Liquid Snake. Like, he met one of his first clones, basically,
that's Eli.
As a child. So Konami screwed him over by like cutting the budget or whatever to where they could only have the 2 acts.
But you know what the thing is like, I know that Kojima's had a long issue with the company where he's had a habit of just going over budget, going over time, and then eventually it was like, look, we've had enough of this shit.
He had a good relationship with the CEO before, but then his son took over, and his son had no investment in the series and really didn't care, because the thing that people don't realize about Konami over here, they just make games and stuff, but Konami makes pachinko machines. They make food products, tons of stuff like grocery store. They're just a huge conglomerate that makes a you know, like Daewoo, that makes a huge, you know, a ton of different things over there. And so when the guy's son took over, he's just like looking at their bottom line, and he's looking at like, these games cost this much money to make. But of course, he did end up regretting it because they hadn't yet seen the full profits of Phantom Pain. And so when he gave Kojima the pink slip, that's the reason they came out with that shitty Metal Gear Survive game, because they tried to throw that together, because the investors, when they saw how good Phantom Pain sold,
was doing,
they're like, okay, what else you got? You know, and they already let the guy go. Yeah, they let him go. They let his whole team go, and they even blacklisted him because Konami. I mean, to
They
say
fucked
they
up.
had a bitter falling out. Yeah, they blacklisted. They straight up blacklisted his own people just working for Kojima in his studio to where they would not allow them to get jobs elsewhere in the games industry. That's how bitter it was.
That new CEO is a bit of a twat. You know.
Yeah, he's. I mean, they say that this is hearsay, but they say that Konami has mob ties to
Yakuza ties,
yeah, in Japan or whatever, and I believe it because they also lobby. I know they lobby to be able to do more legalized gambling because they make so much money off the pachinko machines and everything like that. That they're always lobbying to kind of like get, just push the limits of what they can get away with.
And who runs that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
It doesn't surprise me. But I mean, can you imagine the mafia over there like running video games and they're enjoying the profits off of it,
Yeah.
You know what? I always found that really funny how Sega gets away with making those Yakuza games.
Yeah, but the Yakuza, my understanding is they actually really like them because they do portray. I mean, Kiryu as a protagonist is like a really upstanding guy. Like he's a good
guy with the orphanage and all that.
And he's a badass. I mean, I don't see how anybody could say like, oh, he's not representing us well as Yakuza. It's like, no, I think he's actually doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, that's probably what it is too. It's kind of like it's pretty good fucking publicity.
It is.
It's funny hearing stories about them. It's like I remember there was a huge tsunami over there in Japan, and the first people to pull up trucks because the government was figuring out how they could afford to like allocate all those resources to getting the trucks out there. Meanwhile, the Yakuza already had trucks pulled up and they were handing out food and shit because they believe in taking care of the country. And there's like this silent understanding where it's like the police don't care if they did shit like that as long as they aren't promoting themselves.
They actually touch on that in the Yakuza games. They do because they state how they do present it like the Yakuza aren't purely a bad thing. Like they do, there is a sort of a symbiotic relationship between them and their community and everything else. And it goes into government stuff, of course, too. Like it goes all the way up in the ranks, like as you go through the game. And but then, of course, there's also, there's some Yakuza are better than others. And, Kiryu, of course, being
an upstanding citizen.
The best one. Yeah, basically. Yeah, because in Yakuza 3, I mean, he didn't even want to do it anymore. He was running an orphanage. And
in Okinawa.
Yeah, in Okinawa, exactly. And they didn't know who it just kind of was through freak circumstances or whatever, he kind of like falls in with them again and they don't know who he is. But then when they learn about who he is, they have like a great respect for him. And of course, they need him at that point. They need him to help them because things just escalate from there.
But I mean, that's the cool thing about it because it's one of those things where you have to kind of look at him as like a necessary evil because it's like an example is in the Bronx Tale, the Chaz Palminteri movie.
Okay.
You had a bunch of bikers pulling up to the bar, like dirty, greasy bikers, and they go in and they trash the joint, they're throwing beer all over the place. So Chaz Palminteri and his mafioso guys, they go in there, and it's like, you guys, you're not really dressed for this sort of place, and and it's like the biker was like, hey, look, our money's green like everywhere else. We just want to have a beer, we'll be on our way. And he's like, okay, just a beer and you're on your way. And then they start trashing the place, and then he goes up to him and he's like, hey, that wasn't very nice. Now he's got to leave. He's like, oh, it's you again. Get the fuck out of here. We'll leave when we want to leave. So then he goes over and he locks the door and he's like, no, you can't leave. And then a bunch of guys come out of the back room with baseball bats. They beat the shit out of the bikers. They trashed the bikes. But the thing is they were keeping really undesirable elements out of the neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, they do that. There's that part in I haven't played Yakuza 3 in a long time. It was the first one I played, but there is the part where you go on a patrol with one of the guys, and you're basically just kind of like walking around through the crowds at night and everything, and you see him interacting, the other Yakuza dude, with old ladies and people that, like regular citizens and everything, where they like him, like he helps them out and everything, and they're asking for his help, or he's checking on him, being like, "Are you okay? Is everything good?" So you see how they actually do contribute to the community around him. And of course, Okinawa is like
community going on.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like that.
I think it's awesome when they actually delve into that, because I mean, like, when you get into that whole thing of like black and white, because we all know the world is not black and white. There's literally 50,000 shades of gray here. Right. It's just things can't be viewed that way. And I mean, a lot of Americanized things tend to do that whole black and white thing, and a lot of that comes from the 80s action movies.
Yeah, I guess it does to an extent. Yeah.
It's just we can thank Arnold and Stallone for that shit.
I was just thinking about I was thinking of a Predator earlier. I was just thinking about his hidden knife throw. Stick around. Yeah.
Oh my god, that we were just talking about that earlier. Me and Slayer, we were just talking about like how the 80s was like the era of catchphrases, and a lot of it was Arnie. See you at the party, Richter.
I love Total Recall so much.
Total Recall is one of the best movies.
It's one of his best. It's one of Paul Verhoeven's best too. I mean, Paul Verhoeven. I mean, RoboCop and Total Recall and Starship Troopers. I mean, I know Showgirls like really hurt his career, but even Showgirls, though, did we talk?
People
we
are looking at it retrospectively and saying that it's a lot better than
it's a satire of show business. Yeah, as a satire of show business, I legit. Yeah, I think that movie's cool. Yeah. People act weird in it. Like, people have said, well, everybody acts like a space alien who doesn't know how human beings work in that movie. But that's kind of the point, is that they're like so cranked up to 11. That's part of the reason. That's why it's a satire like that. The same reason that RoboCop is a satire of like capitalist culture, just shoved, like cranked up to the extreme.
Even Basic Instinct is really good.
Was that Verhoeven, really?
Yeah, that was Verhoeven.
I forgot about
Sharon Stone slapped him because allegedly he didn't tell her that he was going to be filming an upskirt. Well, why the fuck would you go on set without any underwear on to begin with?
I didn't realize this, but I was watching The Critical Drinker, and he reviewed Starship Troopers, and the co-ed shower scene. Apparently, you guys probably already know about this, but the actors naked, right? He went naked too. Yeah. They said they would only do it on the condition that he would be naked as well.
Yeah,
and
he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's Dutch. Yeah. He's whatever.
Well, yeah, over there that's like normal.
I even really enjoyed. Wasn't Verhoeven, but RoboCop 2, I think, is a great sequel to the first movie.
That's not the perfect, one that's directed by the guy that did Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, and that was his last movie. And
he died.
Sadly,
I think RoboCop 2 gets better with age in a way. Like, I recently rewatched it a while back, but I think it held up.
It does in a way. I've seen people criticize that the whole anti-drug message just beats you over the head with it.
Strong.
Because I saw one critic criticizing the way the kid dies in it, which I actually liked the kid. As a mobster, I thought him just having this kid who's like so hardened and so like just sociopathic
evil.
like
kid
that.
Was evil. That kid scared me.
But you still feel sorry for him at the end. But I saw a critic one time criticizing that because they were like, they stopped just short of just having RoboCop literally say, "Oh, little so and so, look at what drugs did to you." Kind of. I can see where they're coming from, but I still
didn't see that so much because I saw the comparison like immediately in the beginning because RoboCop sees this kid and it reminds him of his own son.
And he lets him shoot him like that. Yeah. When he's like, because he flinches, he stops. He doesn't.
You can't shoot a kid, can you, fucker?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. See, I see that kid and I think of fucking Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle.
Right.
Like he looks exactly like him.
A little bit. Huh.
Like I did a side-by-side thing in a video recently where I was like, holy shit, they really do look alike. But you see, that kid in RoboCop 2 scared the living shit out of me just because it's
Really?
like a child being that evil. It kind
I
of
don't
like
know. I kind of yeah. It's but he's surrounded by because like the mayor is practically a cartoon character in RoboCop 2, you know, and when
see,
he, you know what I'm saying, like the mayor,
yeah.
like he's not really trying to be corrupt, but it's just like he feels like he has no other choice, so he's
He
making
doesn't have
deals
a
with
choice because like
yeah.
he tried to do the thing with OCP, and
Hmm.
you see the thing that
He's
never
being
made any
undermined
sense
the
to
whole
me.
time.
The thing
Yeah.
that never made any sense to me though is that in the original RoboCop movie, the old man
He
who
Yeah.
was an he was kind of normal, you know, he seemed
yeah,
like a decent enough
he
person.
wasn't like Mr. Burns. Yeah, he wasn't like
Yeah, and then he went
he
full Mr. Burns. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he turned
but
into a straight up villain where
The other argument is RoboCop acting robotic again, but
yeah,
but
what else is he
I
gonna
disagree
do?
with that though because yeah, I
Yeah.
disagree with that because they already I mean straight at the beginning of the movie they're having the thing where they're telling him you can't stop you got to stop driving by
your
your
house.
wife's house and stuff. Yeah, you can't do that like you like repeat after me like I am a
I am
machine, you know, and
machine,
yeah.
nothing more.
And when he tells her, he's like, they did this to honor him. I
Yeah,
don't know you. And just
Yeah.
turns around and everything.
yeah.
I because I'm like, he is still in there. He's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, because he just now, yes, I get that like because he was at the end of the first movie, he didn't sound as robotic when he's talking. He sounded more normal
He
at the
got his
end.
humanity back.
Yeah, he did get his humanity back, but
Yeah.
I don't think that was a retcon in RoboCop 2. It's just he
He's
just kept
also
that he kept up that act essentially because
he's still property of OCP too. They can
he's
do
still
whatever they want with his mind.
exactly like
Yeah,
the part where
Yeah.
one of the parts I really like one of the exchanges was when Lewis is like they're scoping out that one building and Lewis has got the spotter thing and he's telling her like this many degrees over to the left or whatever and she's like
good eyes.
good eyes Murphy goes the best
Good,
money can
good as
buy.
money can buy.
Yeah, I was like,
That, see, the way I kind of felt about that shift with the way that they treated him, because at the end, you know,
mhm,
you got the old man. That's fine shooting, son. What's your name? Murphy.
Murphy.
You know, I think it was one of those things where they were just getting fed up with it because he was getting a little too human by driving by the house. And now you've got the wife coming in threatening a
Yeah,
major
yeah,
lawsuit. So they
right,
sent in one of those bottom line motherfuckers to be like, look, you know what you're doing to this
right.
woman.
But that's
You
why I'm
know,
saying like
it doesn't feel like
for
that.
people to say that they like they retconned him or something like that, and he acts like
Yeah, I don't.
it's
I
like
don't believe
it
that.
literally just established at the beginning of the movie that he absolutely has his memories and he
Yeah.
knows who he is, and he
Now he
is
has to
like
suppress them.
yeah. I don't get that how people say that. I don't get
I
that
don't get it
argument. I
either.
never have understood that.
See, I thought it was really cool when they fucked him up and then they had to rebuild him and then they started
Yeah,
jamming so many lines of
yeah,
audio
yeah. Because they're
because
like,
that
why
led to
can't?
like the most hilarious dialogues
Oh
ever.
yeah.
Uh
It
huh.
Like
was
that, like
good.
one of my favorite things to say whenever something goes wrong is I'm like, go fuck a refrigerator. I got that from RoboCop too. But I mean, it's like that's where it really started to capture the spirit of what the original RoboCop had, where you had that satire but that
hmm
seriousness. Because it's like in the first RoboCop, one of my favorite things, like this is pure capitalism,
hmm
is when the guy's holding the mayor hostage, Ron
I love
Miller.
that scene.
Yeah,
Keep
okay,
him
mayor,
talking.
let the mayor go. We'll give you whatever you want. First, don't fuck with me. I'm a desperate man. And second, I want some fresh coffee. And third, I want a recount. And no matter how it turns out, I want my old job back. Okay. And I want a bigger office. And I want a new car. What kind of car, Miller? Something that goes really fast and has reclining
really shitty gas mileage.
Shitty gas mileage. How about the 6000 SUX? Yeah. Okay, sure. What about cruise control? Does it come with cruise control? Hey, no problem. Let the mayor go. We'll even throw in a bois pump. Lieutenant, don't jerk me off. You know, but they kind of caught that spirit in the second one when they reprogrammed him and he's driving along and like Lewis is like, come on, Murphy, hit the gas already. The posted limit is 35.
Yeah.
We should set an example. And she's just like, ugh.
What did he say? He says that
Isn't the
You got
moon wonderful today?
Yeah,
It's
moon
still
is-
daytime.
Yep.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
And
Well, hell, even the
they're looking at
the-
that huge list of things on
Yeah.
the thing. It's like if you don't have anything nice to say, don't have anything at all. Like it's all bullshit like that. It's just stupid crap that the city council like forced in there.
The stop motion fight at the end is fantastic. I think they actually kind
That
of won
stop
up
motion
the one of the
still
first
looks
one.
really
Yeah.
good. And Kane as RoboCop 2, you said you were scared of the kid, but I think Kane is the most terrifying fucking thing when it like when he comes out in that warehouse for the first time and he's got the floodlights and stuff. Like I'd shit myself if I saw something like that. And then like the part where they're in the elevator shaft and he Kane falls, but then like he's here and he's just like his arms are just swiveling, when he's just like rotating where he's clawing, but I mean he rockets up there to the point where they shoot out of the roof of the place or what.
You know what that scene always reminded me of Contra 3: The Alien Wars.
Yeah.
When you play it on the hard difficulty right at the end when the helicopter's going up and then the final boss comes back to life one last time and you see the arms doing this shit as it's going up. It made me think of fucking Kane from RoboCop.
Kane's design, because like when they do the they're trying to make the new RoboCop 2 and they have all those failed things because they keep using
that
the
scene is
dead cops.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And they keep there's that one. There's the one where he wounds somebody like that. He just does
and
that,
then the head goes down and the sirens turn on.
Yeah.
That's what I don't get when people talk about a RoboCop 2. I'm like, this movie's great. Like
it has a lot of really good parts in it. Yeah, it does. I mean, but you can see how each design is like a different thing because like the one that shoots himself, you can kind of see when they make Kane, you can see traits of like where some of the design choices like carried over. But the way Kane, because he's got at least 4 arms, right? Because he's got the 2 main arms and he's got these smaller arms that like wrap around his shoulders. Yeah, he's got the thing on his back. He's got like his feet have like retractable claws. There's all this shit where it's like you can tell that they were thinking. I really like the way they designed him because with RoboCop, with the first one, it's like okay, he's a human being. He's got, other than having the gun holster in his thigh that opens up, he's got all the same. Just he's normal humanoid basically. But with RoboCop 2, it's like they're trying to up the ante, so they're building in all these like utilities. He's got like a torch cutter. He's got like these different claws and all this different crap where they're clearly thinking about giving him all this extra like built-in utility that the first one didn't have, because the first one I guess was more about like making him look good for the public, because obviously the public has to accept him and has to be able to like see him. Yeah, he's a product. He's got to be friendly looking. He's got to be like at the beginning when he goes on the beat for the first time and stops the guy in the convenience store, stops the dudes from raping the chick and everything. Yeah. And but with RoboCop 2, it's just like we got to up the ante. It's like because like you said, it's a product and they have to. How do we improve on it? Put all this extra bullshit.
This one was built for a fight,
Yeah, he's a tank. Like he's not friendly looking. He's not. It's the equivalent of like one of those police tanks with a battering ram or something on it. Compared to like
when
a
the
normal.
chest opens up and the screen comes out, you see the line of text, and then it slowly forms into a face.
And he runs on Mac OS. Basically, like seriously, it's got at the top. If you look at the top, it's got like the little drop down, like Mac OS, like the old black and white version.
Yeah,
where it's got the little file, file edit, whatever settings.
They did the same thing in Terminator.
Because that's true. But I always thought that was cool because original RoboCop, it looks like he's just it's very no nonsense. Well, it's like DOS. It's like there's just like command lines, like pure green command terminal type shit, like nothing fancy. But then when you see Kane, it's like he's got a graphical user interface built into him. Like they've improved from a technological standpoint. He is very much like he's very much improved over the original, but of course he's also a psychopath.
Yeah. This one is a total attention whore.
Nice.
He's a sweetheart, though. Someone abandoned this little guy.
I didn't know you had a son.
I might as well have a son. This is Nibbler. We all know where the name came from.
Oh yeah, yeah, we know.
But no,
I'm also distracted by that Famicom behind you.
Oh yeah, I actually have
Wasn't-
a Famicom.
Wait, wasn't Frank Welker also Nibbler?
Yes,
That's what I thought.
but no, I'm out in Phoenix, so this was the middle of summertime. You throw a little black dog that's not meant for heat out in them. I just couldn't let him go.
I got a Shih Tzu, and they're famous for, or well, they really don't have too many health complications or anything, but they're prone to heat stroke. So yeah.
I mean, it was just a real shitty thing to do. He had no collar, he had no tag. I took him down to see if he was even chipped. He wasn't chipped. He was not neutered. So I don't think he grew up on the streets because he was too clean, but he's a good boy.
How old is he?
I don't know.
Oh,
I have to take him.
He looks
down,
good. I mean, his coat looks really shiny and everything.
Yeah, like I said, he looks like he was well taken care of, but I think he was either part of a puppy mill or something, and someone just threw him out. But I mean, he's definitely not a puppy, but he's got puppy tendencies. But he's also a stubborn little shit.
Nice.
I've got him house trained because he wasn't housebroken. I got him house trained, and right now we're working on keeping him out of the garbage.
Garbage day. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Oh no, but you know what? He's a lot smarter than anybody would give him credit for, though. Because the other night I heard him crying, and I'm like, "Oh great, the cat's kicking his ass again." Because I have a dwarf cat. She's 4 pounds of pissed off fluffing bitch. So I thought she was kicking his ass again, and I found out what the problem was. Is he went into the garbage, he dragged a paper towel out, and then he was like, "Oh no, I'm in trouble. I'm not supposed to go in here, and I can't put it back." Like that. That's what I figured. It's just that he was crying because he realized that he fucked up and he can't hide it.
That's cute.
But I mean, so far he's racked up a pretty healthy bill. I can't afford to take him to the vet right now because he's eating a PS4 controller. He's eating
nice
2 USB controllers.
Mine chews on. He'll chew on the analog knobs. He's done that to one of my controllers before.
That's exactly what he did. He completely dismantled the PS4 controller. Yes, he did. And then he took out the 2 USBs. They love the rubber on the analog. So I got him a chew thing, and it's like porcelain or some shit like that. He just can't break through it. And I think that's what frustrates him. But then when he picks it up, he drops it everywhere because he's a clumsy bastard too, isn't he? Knocks over everything. But he'll pick it up and then he'll drop it. You're ting, 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 all throughout the house. But to answer old Slaya's thing, this is an actual Famicom.
I was looking at that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Crack this open.
Do you remember that Hudson Soft, this is a long time ago, but Hudson Soft actually sold those exact, like the Famicom style controllers. You could buy those in the US because Hudson, I guess, got the rights from Nintendo to distribute those as just.
So what'd you get a Famicom at anyways?
What?
I didn't see it.
Did you get it online or did you find it at the Palm Store or what?
Bokosuka Wars.
Ooh.
I don't know what the fuck that is. It's probably worth like $100,000.
Where'd you get it? Did you get it online? Did you pawn shop?
Yeah. No, I got it online. It's because I always wanted one because I wanted to try out the FDS. And this sits here right now, not because I don't want to be like those YouTubers who have like $3,000 worth of plastic behind them. But I got it right now just to cover up the mess here because like I'm stuck back here and I don't have any doors and I don't really have anywhere else to put stuff. You notice the scenery's changed because before I was over on that wall over there and there's this huge painting that my mother has of 2 jaguars and like one's laying down, one's over like this. It looks like the jaguar's trying to fuck the other jaguar. So yeah, let's talk about Castlevania while I got 2 big spotted cats behind me fucking. It didn't work aesthetically for me. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to do this stuff. Well, film in front of the bookshelf. We got DVDs there. And I'm like, I hate when people do that.
Want to see some Jag?
Yeah, let's play some Jag.
Let's play Jaguar on the Sega CD, the shitty racing game.
But yeah, I stopped using hardware a long time ago. I did that after the Night Trap review because I actually burned out my childhood Sega CD playing Night Trap, trying to review it.
Oh,
and
nice.
then my Nintendo.
I never played it actually.
Night Trap.
I had a Sega CD, but I just didn't. I had Sewer Shark. I had that crappy game. But
Sewer Shark is way better than I remember it.
You can get Night Trap on Steam now, the HD or not.
Oh
HD,
yeah, you can get it
remastered version. Yeah,
you can get it on mobile. You can get it on like iOS and Android and shit. Because with the video compression, it's like it's nothing.
I kind of wish they'd do a remastered version of like Phantasmagoria, but
that would be amazing. Like I would love to review that.
Yeah, the first two are really cool.
There's only two anyway.
Yeah, the second one was really. They're both good B movie stuff.
They are good. They are good. I like the plot of the second one.
Night Trap. I kind of came to the revelation that this is kind of where the Sega CD fell on its ass, because I reviewed the original Night Trap. I burned out my Sega CD because originally I was just a Sega guy.
Me too. Me too, dude.
I'm the type of person who's like, I look at the way that the retro gaming review scene is. Nintendo is done to fucking death. It's totally done to death. It's been strip mined. But no one really talks about Sega. No one really talks about, say, Famicom. I mean, I do the ROM hacks for NES games, but that's something new. It's like I'm not talking about Mario Brothers for like.
There's
you know what I mean?
Do you know Film Cal? You know the guys, the animation Film Cal, Charlie and the Candy Mountain and all that.
Yeah.
The dude who does all the Film Cal animation, his name's Jason Steele, and he does video game streams where he just like plays old retro games and stuff basically every night. He calls it the Video Game Valley, but he multiple times, because he plays a lot of Sega Saturn stuff and plays like he has a lot of Japanese imports and all sorts of things I never heard of before. And
that's what I want to do and show off is like imports, especially the Sega stuff.
Because he said that the Saturn is so dear to him because he said it was the first console that he bought with his own money when he had a job and everything. And
saved up paper route money.
And and
I love the Saturn.
I do too. I still have mine. I got games actually. I got a box of games over here, but I'm
ours was lost in a house fire, unfortunately.
Oh,
But see, that's why I don't play the NES art. Just so we can get to this, I want to finish this one. I don't use hardware no more because it fucked up the Sega CD.
Right.
The NES, I've had that since I was a kid. That
and Sega CD, like Saturn is still. The last time I checked, I mean, there are some okay Saturn emulators out there. None of them are. I don't think none of them are 100% as far as I'm aware, because the Saturn is so funky.
It was so complicated.
It's got 3 32-bit processors. It had a motherboard and a daughter board because the 3D hardware was literally just tacked on at the last minute, basically. And it's such a bitch too. And it doesn't use conventional polygons like the PlayStation or anything else does. It uses 3D sprites, which are quads. And so it's a huge mess. But like
see, that's the cool thing though. For 2D games on the Saturn, they were absolutely amazing.
Oh, it was
3D. It was the weakness.
Well, the thing is, honestly, because not Yakuza, Shenmue.
Yeah.
Did you know Shenmue was in development for the Saturn before it was on the Dreamcast? Did you ever see what it looked like?
Shit.
Because, I mean, still though, it had characters with like facial animation. It's like you didn't see that in art. Yeah, the Saturn version. Yeah, no, it has nothing on the Dreamcast version, but I think it was the Dreamcast version of Shenmue 2, which did not get released, of course, here in the U.S. because Microsoft secured the rights to put it on the original Xbox at the time. But it did because a friend of mine, he was already really invested in the series. He wanted to play the sequel, and so I think he imported it from like Australia or something like that for Shenmue 2, and it was still compatible with the save file and everything from the first one. So he played through it that way. And it had like an unlockable Easter egg where they had some. It was really low res video. It was probably like 240p or less. It could have been 160p, but it was. They had some old footage of the Saturn version running.
Yeah.
and I saw it, and I was like, I still found it damn impressive at the time that if they had actually
For the
released
time,
that
yeah.
game, yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, more so because there were things like some games um, on the Saturn, if it was hard for developers to make proper use of of that hardware, given that they had to like offload all these different tasks, like the different, one of the different three different processors. Um, but it the Saturn could do some stuff over
Oh
the
yeah.
PlayStation 1 even, which the
Oh yeah.
PS1, the PS1 was just way more friendly as a development environment. The Saturn was not. The Saturn was very difficult to work with like that. But yeah, as a 2D machine, because Sega essentially designed the thing to be like the ultimate 2D
Mm-hmm.
console, and yeah, it kind of was back then. It was
Oh, hands
incredible.
down.
Yeah.
That's the plan going forward with like the reviews and shit. Like right now, I'm doing the Splatterhouse trilogy. I want to wipe those out. That's kind of like a favor to somebody who like believed in the channel way earlier on. He helped promote the shit out of it. He wanted
Up
me to
to
review
600 now.
603 or
I gotta
604 now.
I gotta check out your
Congratulations.
channel. I really gotta look at it.
Fucked myself on the Clock Tower review because every single instinct that I had in my body said, dude, cut it off after the SNES one and make it a part 2 with the PS1
Oh, sure,
version.
sure.
But I left it as one long thing and it just went on a little long. But you know what? I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get to that level.
I mean, it depends on the reviewer, because there are YouTubers that can do these like shorter format videos where it's like 10, 12 minutes, and they hit all the beats and everything, in their style, like it works fine. But then there's other reviewers where, oh, so and so just posted a 40-minute video. Oh, I can't wait to dig into this. Like you ever watch Wrestling with Gaming?
Yes.
Did like one of the best ones he's ever done, in my opinion, is the X Band, the one that modem.
Oh yeah,
that was
I
for the
remember that
Genesis and
fucking
the Super
piece of
Nintendo.
shit. I
Dude,
had that for the Super Nintendo.
Because that's just a straight up documentary that he did. Like that is not that's not really review so much as it is just a legit documentary, because he goes into the history of it. He interviews multiple developers, guys that worked on it, and then he even starts like talking about the community that still supports it, that actually has like, if you still own one, you can still go on it and play on it, because they've created their own servers for it.
I will never forget that
so
fucking
cool
interface. Oh my god, it was so 1990s.
But it really was, like, because in his documentary, it was ahead of its time, because a lot of the these were like former like Apple developers that got in on this, like really talented, like technicians, guys that because they were being told, like, people are like, this is gonna be impossible, like, how are you gonna make Mortal Kombat
Online.
like two people play in Mortal Kombat and over a dial-up connection.
I'm just thinking of that one part at the end of The Cable Guy. Jim Carrey does that. He does a speech about people playing games online, Mortal Kombat in different countries. Ben Stiller
we
knew.
were able to do it.
Huh.
I don't
they
think
pulled it off.
Yeah, they really did, and the services that we have now, they kind of owe it to, because the X Band was really pioneering that
really
like online
was, in a
gaming
sense.
thing.
See, that's what I look at a lot of Sega stuff as, is that Sega had the balls to jump ahead of the curve and try to, innovate. Like, I mean,
they did kind of throw a bunch of stuff to see what stuck.
The coolest thing about that Dreamcast was the VMU. I love the VMU.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was
battery
so cool.
life on it was terrible, though. Unfortunately,
it was terrible. Yeah,
I mean, it still saved the games though, because it was just flash memory. So if even if the battery ran out, you could still save your games. You just couldn't like actually play on it or whatever. Do a little, but I liked it too.
But shit, what the hell? But that's what I always loved about Sega stuff, and that's what I started off on, was doing Sega stuff, and I've been learning as I go along. That's why I started off, like, the very first game that I ever reviewed was Alex Kidd, and it might have been Miracle World, I think.
Yeah, but that's the original one that everybody remembers.
But it wasn't the Sega Master System one. It was the one that came out on Sega Genesis. It was Dream. Fuck, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I think Miracle World was the Master System one for sure. I know that.
Yeah,
And
I had it
it
on the
just got a
Master System when it
remake.
worked.
It got a remake not too long ago where
Yeah.
it's on Unity Engine now, but you can switch between the new version and the old version. It's like you can dynamically, it's got HD graphics and stuff. It looks really good.
See, that was a weird review though, because like I sat down and I recorded the footage and I wanted to do this whole model because I hate how scripted everybody sounds. It's like you can tell when someone's reading off of a script. And I always like I'm kind of a natural speaker, so it's like it really sticks out to me.
I think it's Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle. Yeah,
that might have been it.
That's the Genesis one.
So that might have been it. Well, you know what? Let me see.
I think it is because you'll see the box art if you put it in there.
Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle. That's the one that I reviewed. That one went about 10 minutes. But anyways, the whole thing is like I did that. I recorded the gameplay footage and then I reviewed it live. So, and then I just cut it so it sounded a little more coherent. But I never scripted it. I just sat there and gave like my impressions of it. I had so much trouble with that fucking thing. That game pissed me off to no end. And then I moved on to Jurassic Park. So I don't
think I ever played that one. I don't think I played any of the Alex Kidd games back then.
Enchanted Castle pissed me off.
No.
But the whole model of the channel is like I can get into a 10-minute video, I can get into a 40-minute video. It just depends on what they're talking about, how they're talking about it. But it's like if I sit down and I'm listening to like a 40-minute video of somebody being like, now Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle came out in 1990. It's like you can tell they're reading off of a script. It's like, so Alex Kidd, I wanted to get back to basics. I wanted to do reviews the way that they used to be done, like when YouTube first started. I wanted so it's like I came up with that idea of going back to basics, keeping things low budget, keeping things low res. And hell, I was even rendering stuff in 480p intentionally. I'd have people like, oh, why is the video quality so shit? And it's like, because that's how it was.
Yeah.
It like the model was old school retro game reviews,
right?
So it's like done the old school style way. And then I kind of got this idea in my head that once I finally get my place, which is going through renovations right now, I got to get the electrical fixed because that's a fucking clusterfuck. I'm going to start building sets, and I want to have this thing kind of like inspired by like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Cool World, where the video game world is bleeding into reality. Because like my upstairs, the way that it's set up, like here's one bedroom, here's another bedroom. It looks like an old school apartment building. So it's kind of like every episode, like I'll have like a new neighbor. I could have like, and I figure like get the cosplay community involved. Like I could have somebody who cosplays as like Link. And so anyways, after I'm done with Splatterhouse, I did a poll. Do Fatal Frame or do you want to see me do Snatcher? And people voted for Snatcher.
Fucking love Snatcher, dude. I used to own that game.
Well, you know what? The perfect thing about doing.
I had that game and I had the Enforcer, the light gun for it and everything.
Yes, that was so cool.
I still had it all. Yeah.
But you know what? It works out absolutely perfect because I had already pre-planned.
Oh no, it was called the Justifier. It was for Lethal Enforcers. The name of the gun was the Justifier.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a Magnum. It was the old.
Yeah. It was badass, and you could order, since Lethal Enforcers was 2-player, you could order the red one directly from Konami, and it actually like plugged into the blue one. It like daisy chained off of it.
1 second.
Okay.
I remember the Justifier. It was blue, but I think you could order a red one, right?
That's what I was just saying. Yeah, it daisy chained off of the blue one. Like it had like a little. The blue one had like a little phone jack basically in the bottom of it. It had like an RJ11 jack, and you had to order it directly from Konami.
Yeah,
you could do that.
Player 1, Player 2. I love that game. Yep. I had already pre-planned on doing Hideo Kojima's games in general, so I sat down and I started recording footage. I've got Snatcher already done, so I don't have to sit down and play through it again. I've got all the footage for that done. I sat down and I got Police Knots translated. Jesus H. Christ, that was a fucking marathon. That was 11 and a half hours.
Really? I never played it. I know about it, and I because I don't think it ever came out officially in the U.S. I think it probably just was in Europe, right? Or something, maybe.
It was only in Japan, as far as I know, because someone had to translate it to English, and that's how I was able to play it. It was an 11 and a half hour odyssey of
I would
playing
love
through that game.
Yeah.
The best way that I can sum it up is Snatcher is a comparatively better game, but the way that the thing that Police Knots really has over Snatcher, because they're pretty much the same game gameplay wise.
Yeah.
But Police Knots has
Casually feel up women.
It's got a really, really good shooting sequence.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it's really, really good. Like like Snatcher, you would just have the grid.
Yeah, it's just it's the 9 spaces or whatever in the grid, like a.
This one, on the other hand, you actually move the Beretta around.
Oh, okay.
And you have like the enemy will like pop out, kind of like Lethal Enforcers.
Yeah, okay. I gotcha.
And plus, it's got the detective elements in it. TLDR about Police Knots. It has a very interesting story, but it kind of falls in line with a joke that I'm going to be making about it. Because we all know Hideo Kojima is a master storyteller, but he's very, very, very wordy. That's kind of why I have that joke about. That's why I did the joke with David Hayter, where it's like instead of just saying one vanilla cream coming right up, it's like he's got to explain what the fucking thing does. Because it's like instead of telling a story about going into outer space, all of a sudden I'm learning that what they use to like mix the rocket fuel together to create the necessary propulsion to get into outer space, and once you reach a gravity of 35, then it tells you like the gravity ratio.
Swery does get since we mentioned or I mentioned Deadly Premonition at the end, like that.
Yeah,
Swery does a little bit of that too, because he'll talk about a little bit of everything, anything that comes up. He'll, when you play that little mini game to when you're in the hospital and you have to play that little chess mini game to get in contact with the doctor, the coroner or whatever, and he goes off, like York goes off on a little tangent about chess and everything, and about the rules of chess, like things that it's totally non sequitur. It has nothing to do with anything except that,
it just passes off information, a lot of information. Like the joke that I have for the Police Knots review is, it's like, this is like it's an example of how like wordy Hideo Kojima is, and it's not knocking him, it's just Jesus Christ. It's like, all right, so suppose I was going to go fill up gas in my car. I'd pull up, the attendant would come over, because in New Jersey you're not allowed to fill your own tank. You have a gas attendant come up. Really? He would come over. I would say, yeah. Wow. I'd say 10 regular, and he would take it, and then he would put it in his pocket. He'd put $10 worth of gas in the car, and then it'd be off on my merry fucking way. In Hideo Kojima's world, you would pull up and say, I'd like $10 regular, please. So, you want to put $10 regular into the gas tank, huh? All right, so the way that gasoline works is that it goes into the engine, and it combines with oxygen to create a combustionable effect, which causes the engine to run. And you're just sitting there,
a few new recruits die in live fire exercises.
Would you put the fucking gas in the car, please? and that's pretty much what really drags out Police Knots is that it's fun, it's got a good story. I like everything.
As a kid, I probably would have adored that, though. That's the thing, because I liked, I don't know, like to me that would have felt sophisticated as a kid if I had played something like that. Like
it's very, very sophisticated, but it's just one of those things where it's like, say if you go to the Museum of Aeronaut History, right? Instead of like having a small description about it, it's almost like this is Hideo Kojima shit. It's like if I was going to be counting calories, I would be like, okay, calorie 0, but Hideo Kojima, calorie 0, total fat 0 grams, 40 megagrams. Not a significant sort of fat, you know what I mean? It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
By the time you're done listening to the dialogue in Police Knots, you might as well be a fucking astronaut, because like that's what
I guess I'm just like I'm impressed whenever they do that kind of stuff, because it's like, wow, this guy did like it's overly verbose, but I mean, yeah, he's doing like a crazy amount of research. It's like when in Deadly Premonition, when York, because he's a movie buff, and he starts talking about, he'll just be driving and you can trigger a conversation with Zach or whatever. You are Zach technically when you're playing the game, but he'll just start talking about like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes or like Superman 2 or something. I'm like, holy shit. Like it's like, he really knows his movie trivia too. So Swery is like really, he looked into all this stuff. He's talking about these really obscure things that are not mainstream. I mean, not Superman is, but I mean like, talking about Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and all this like crazy shit like that. And it's like in this horror video game, this Japanese horror video game, you know, that's based on loosely on Twin Peaks and everything. It's just so funny to
But
me.
I mean,
I love
they
that kind of
love
shit.
to give that information.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's like I find it fascinating. I find it interesting, but at the same time, it's like, can I please get back to the action?
Slaya, you should play.
Deadly Premonition?
You should play Deadly Premonition, like I said, because I mean, literally, the main character is like a movie buff, and he's this really like eccentric.
Continued in part 2.